What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Triple Z Podcast. I'm your host, Isaiah Henry. After starting their season 13 and 18 and losing their last 5 games at home, the Sacramento Kings and Mike Brown have decided to part ways. It's been a disastrous season for the Kings organization, even with the new addition of DeMar DeRozan. And to fire somebody like Mike Brown, who just 2 seasons ago was named Coach of the Year unanimously, had the Kings as a third seed in a chaotic Western Conference, was coaching the best NBA offense in league history, helped them make it back to the playoffs after a 16-year drought. You match up against the Golden State Warriors in round one. That series goes 7, and it took Steph Curry having 50 points on the road in game 7 to eliminate the Sacramento Kings. And just a few months ago in the offseason, the Kings organization extended Mike Brown for $30 million over the next 3 years. So firing him just comes off as cheap to me. I know they're the 12th seed in the Western Conference, but it's not all on Mike Brown. If I had to divide the percentage, I would say 20% Mike Brown, 35% the roster, and 45% to the front office and general managers. Taking a look at the Sacramento Kings, they're 24th in three-pointers made. Kevin Huerter and Keegan Murray back in the 2022-2023 season when the Sacramento Kings made it to the playoffs after 16 years. Those two players shot 40% from three on roughly 7 attempts a game. As of today, they're shooting 30% from three. It also doesn't help when DeAaron Fox is shooting below league average at 33%. We know DeMar DeRozan isn't a three-point shooter. He's shooting 30%. Domantas Sabonis is their best percentage three-point shooter, shooting 41% from three on just 2.5 attempts a game. Defensively, they're 16th in the league. Keegan Murray is still their best defender because of his size and versatility. Keon Ellis is their second best defender, but his minutes has been so inconsistent. In one game, he's playing 30 minutes. Next, he's playing 4, 12, 20 minutes. So he's just been inconsistent on and off the court. In clutch games, the Kings are 6 and 13, which is shocking because you have two of the best clutch players in the NBA in DeAaron Fox and DeMar DeRozan. And in that loss against the Detroit Pistons, Sacramento up 3, 110 to 113. Mike Brown has come out and stated that he told every player on that court, nobody should be closing out on a shooter. Nobody. And what do we see? We see DeAaron Fox closing out on Jaden Ivey. Jaden Ivey is in a shooting motion. He gets fouled and he converts on the 4-point play. And Sacramento ends up losing that game by just 1 point. So it seems like the coaching staff and players are not on the same page. If you take a look at their new addition in DeMar DeRozan, who they signed in the offseason for 3 years, $80 million, this season, he's more of a subtraction than he is an addition. He's not helping you with your three-point shooting. He's not helping you with your defense. Yes, he is averaging 20 points per game, but it doesn't seem to have an impact on the Sacramento Kings winning basketball games. And in clutch moments, like I said, the Kings are 6 and 13 in clutch games. That's a losing record. DeMar DeRozan, for the past 2 seasons, has finished top 3 in clutch player of the year, but when they're in a clutch scenario, where is he to be found? Yes, it's not only on him. DeAaron Fox is also a great clutch player, but that's one of the reasons why you signed DeMar DeRozan, because of his ability to close out games in clutch moments. Keegan Murray has taken a step back from his rookie year. He was supposed to be their best three-point shooter, their best perimeter defender, and expand his game offensively to be more versatile, but that hasn't been the outcome for Keegan Murray. Malik Monk, who has been the best bench scorer in the NBA for the past couple of seasons, is now in the starting lineup, meaning your bench unit is more weaker. While the Sacramento Kings are trying to save their season from misery, it doesn't help when you hear that your franchise player in DeAaron Fox is involved in all these trade rumors. A couple of weeks ago, DeAaron Fox and his agent, Rich Paul, for Clutch Sports, talked to the general manager and Monte McNair and the assistant general manager and Wes Wilcox to discuss what's the plan here. What are we doing to make my client and De'Aaron Fox feel more comfortable about his situation in Sacramento, that he can win here at the highest level? In the offseason, De'Aaron Fox declined a 3-year, $165 million contract extension with the Sacramento Kings, basically trying to figure out what kind of season the Kings are going to have. They're the 12th seed in the Western Conference, 5 games below 500, and they just fired Mike Brown. And now you're hearing De'Aaron Fox in all these trade rumors. Tim McMahon on the Who Could Like the podcast, I listened to it just yesterday, spoke about the Houston Rockets and the San Antonio Spurs being, teams that can negotiate and tangle with the Kings. And those two teams have a ton of draft capital, and they have a bunch of players that they can put in, trade packages to negotiate with the Sacramento Kings. If you ask me, De'Aaron Fox is gone within the next 2 years. He has one more year left on his contract, and then he becomes a free agent. The Kings haven't put De'Aaron Fox in the best position to win in Sacramento, basically. We're talking about a player that's top 10 in scoring and is one of the most explosive athletic point guards in the NBA today. And he's only been to the playoff once. Out of his 7-8 years with the Sacramento Kings, he's been to the postseason once. The Sacramento Kings started to decline after they made the playoffs in 2023 because in that offseason, they didn't improve their roster. They didn't add anybody to that roster while the rest of the Western Conference got better. OKC, the Timberwolves, the Nuggets, the Lakers, the Golden State Warriors, the Pelicans. So many other teams got better in the Western Conference. And Sacramento, just neglected to improve their roster, to add more wing defenders and add more players to their bench unit, which resulted in the Kings getting kicked out in the play-in against the New Orleans Pelicans and not even making the playoffs. And now here we are with the Kings being a 12th seed in the Western Conference, and De'Aaron Fox is potentially on his way out. And I want to go back to the Mike Brown firing because he did a whole practice with them and he spoke to the media. And then it's reported that a couple minutes later, they called him and said, hey, we don't need you. We're firing you. Don't come back. That is wild. It's a shiesty business in the NBA. It really is. This man was just named unanimously Coach of the Year. In just 2 seasons, when you're going through extreme adversity, I understand. You fire him just like that? When you failed the offseason before to bring more to this roster, to add more pieces to this roster so you can compete at a high level in the Western Conference. You're going to blame that on that's what you do. You just fire Mike Brown instead of looking at the roster and saying, we need to add a piece here. We need to do this. We need to surround De'Aaron Fox, who is our best player, and Domantas Sabonis, who's made an All-NBA, who's made an All-Star team. We need to surround that duo with more suitable players. But the first thing they do is fire Mike Brown. It's a shiesty business in the NBA, man. It's a shiesty business. And now you're hearing, all these other NBA coaches talk about how surprised they are. Mike Malone was the first coach I saw speak about Mike Brown being fired. He said, I'm not shocked by it because it's the same people that fired me. No class, no balls. Steve Kerr also talked about it, and Jamal Mosley. You fired somebody who changed your culture and helped you make it back to the playoffs after not making it for 16 years. He got the best out of De'Aaron Fox. He got the best out of Domantas Sabonis and Malik Monk. And you fire him? That's wild. That is wild. And we've seen this so many times with NBA coaches. It happened to Frank Vogel. He won a championship and then he got kicked out of Los Angeles 2 years later. Who else? Mike Budenholzer, he got kicked out after winning a championship. Yes, Mike Brown didn't win a championship, but he helped a lot. He helped the Sacramento Kings a lot getting back to the postseason. And then you took the reigning champs, the Golden State Warriors, to 7 games. From that point on, you should add more to your roster. But the Kings failed to do that. They just failed to do that. And now you want to use Mike Brown, I hate to say it, as a scapegoat. You threw him under the bus. Now, he didn't have a perfect season. He didn't. He wasn't a perfect coach. He made mistakes. But, man, you got to work with him in some way. The roster was not convincing enough. DeMar DeRozan, when he got traded there, it wasn't something that I looked twice at. It wasn't like, what? It was more like, okay. When you took a glance at it, he was like, all right. It was nothing scary. It was nothing that made other Western Conference teams think damn, we got to watch out for the Sacramento Kings. No, y'all don't, because they're the 12th seed right now. Thank you guys for listening to the Triple Z podcast. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Let me know down in the comment section your reaction to seeing Mike Brown being fired from the Sacramento Kings. Do you think De'Aaron Fox will get traded by the trade deadline to the Miami Heat, San Antonio Spurs, the Houston Rockets? Let me know. I want to hear your thoughts. Thank you guys for listening. I'll see you guys next time. Zzz.